In a Week News exclusive investigation, a former sergeant and a former deputy from the Lee County Sheriff's Office break their silence and explain what they say happened during an arrest that got them and another deputy fired. Thanks for joining us. I'm Taylor Wirtz in for Amanda Hall.
And I'm Russ McCaskey. Sheriff Carmine Marcino announced their terminations on Facebook in October, writing, quote, "Use of force was not properly reported and documented. Sergeant Christopher Meyer and Deputy Bradley Davidson were both fired for conduct unbecoming a law enforcement officer, untruthfulness in reporting, and for a lack of job knowledge and performance. On top of that, Meyer was also fired for improper use of force." Marcino claimed a criminal investigation is underway and did not hold a press conference to answer questions. Week News investigative reporter Celine McArthur digs into the arrest that led to the firings and has the video that's at the center of this investigation.
Look at Sheriff Carmine Marcino's Facebook post, and you'll also see he shut down your ability to comment or ask questions. I wanted to learn more, but LCSO won't release the case file because there's an open criminal investigation. I also asked LCSO for an interview with the sheriff, but they have not provided me with an answer. In the meantime, I do have an exclusive copy of the internal affairs summary for former Sergeant Christopher Meyer. He says he gave it to me to back up his story about what happened to 45-year-old Corey Samick during the arrest that got him fired. It's 2 a.m. August 11th. LCSO deputies Alexander Ritchie and Brad Davidson are on the scene of a traffic stop near this gas station at Kingston Drive and Palm Beach Boulevard in Tice. Sergeant Meyer drives up to check on them.
I hear yelling in the background, like people yelling at each other, and I'm like, what the heck is going on?
Meyer says Samick, who appears drunk, approaches them carrying an open can of the alcoholic beverage, Twisted Tea.
In Deputy Ritchie's face, cursing him out, yelling at him. He's continuing to threaten to fight me.
Telling us to take our vests off, telling us to take our gun belts off, and wanting to fight us in the middle of the street.
Meyer asked Samick to leave.
We typically try not to arrest people for very minor county ordinance if we can help it. So we're trying to get rid of this guy. Just telling him to move on, get out of here, leave us alone.
Samick won't go. Meyer goes into the gas station to see if the night manager wants him removed from the property. The sergeant gets a yes to the trespass, but still can't convince Samick to leave.
I go, if you don't go, you're going to jail. That's the last warning. After that, I have to do something. And he continues. I'm not leaving.
What happens next is captured on the gas station's surveillance camera. Meyer tells me he went back 4 days later with his personal cell phone to record the 45 seconds you're about to see. A video he says he provided to LCSO and the state attorney's office.
I go to grab his hand. He's facing me. I'm probably closer than you and I are right now. I mean, as close as you can get to where I can reach out and actually touch you. He yanks away. I don't know if when he turns, if he's going to swing at me or not. I punch him before he can do that.
Meyer then grabs Samick and takes him to the ground.
It wasn't a clean takedown because he's resisting me. So I sort of stumble, I take him down, and I fall basically on top of him.
What you can't see in Meyer's zoomed-in recording is deputies Ritchie and Davidson standing feet away, watching. Ritchie tells LCSO investigators he was, quote, evaluating where he could be best used to assist. Davidson says he, quote, did not see how it would make a positive effect.
Do you think you did anything wrong?
I could have acted a little quicker in helping Sergeant Meyer detain him. I could not have prevented any injury because I never explicitly watched any injury-causing behavior.
So I'm wrestling with this guy, and I'm giving him orders to give me his hands. And I give him multiple strikes. I give him probably 3 strikes. In the torso areas, he doesn't stop. Still trying to throw me off of him. So I continue, I give him a couple more, 2 or 3. Stop again, give him another opportunity. Give me your hands. Nope, gave him a couple more. The other guys in this quick ordeal come up behind and help me dig his hands out. We put him in the car. That was the last time that we saw him, or last time that I saw him.
I found Samick at the gas station. He didn't want to be interviewed on camera, but talked to me about what happened. I showed him the surveillance video. Samick argues it's proof he didn't resist and claims at least another one of Meyer's punches you see him throw landed on his face. LCSO Defensive Tactics Coordinator Captain Scott Griffith deemed the level of force used by Meyer in the video, quote, appeared to be in accordance with LCSO policy and procedures. However, had Davidson and Ritchie intervened, it, quote, could have potentially prevented further injuring Mr. Samick. Samick also tells me and LCSO investigators the use of force didn't stop there, claiming he was struck by 4 deputies while handcuffed.
There was not a strike, not one, where he was handcuffed and secured.
But Meyer and Davidson can't prove that with the video Meyer chose to record on his personal cell phone. The IA summary shows that Samick was handcuffed at 2 a.m., but he wasn't removed from the gas station and taken to the hospital until 3 a.m. So there is 1 hour that's unaccounted for, and the gas station video is long gone. So the potentially incriminating or exonerating evidence is gone for good.
It's better than nothing. Because if we didn't have that video, they'd be going off of strictly his word.
The amount of time that is unaccounted for is simply us doing paperwork.
An action Davidson admits he can't prove. He also challenges whether Samick was really hurt during his arrest.
I didn't recall seeing any medical expert weigh in on the stage of those fractures and in what stage of healing.
You mentioned like his level of healing. Are you saying it could have happened before you guys had encountered him?
Several transients in the area that know him have reported to us on more than one occasion he is often getting in fights.
You saw him for 10 minutes before that happened. You guys kept going back and forth trying to de-escalate. Did he look like he had injuries to his face when that was happening?
No. But I can't see, I don't have an x-ray machine. I can't see inside his face. The
IA summary does not offer a conclusive explanation for Samick's injuries, which include fractures to his jaw and right orbital area.
So I don't know, I can't testify as to what maybe happened in the car, if he was banging his head in the car at some point.
Despite the findings and unanswered questions in the IA summary, Meyer and Davidson don't believe they should have been fired.
And it was always projected at the sheriff's office that if you get into something and you get called into IA or you get called in by a supervisor, and if you tell them the truth and you tell them this is why, that they will take care of you.
I asked 3 independent law enforcement experts to review the information and evidence we've been able to collect. Dave Benson, retired as Director of Law Enforcement Training for the United States State Department in Washington, D.C. Jim Durain is a retired FBI Supervisory Special Agent, and Jeff Myers is the former Fort Myers Police Deputy Chief. They all believe Marcino's decision to fire the deputies was reasonable.
And they may not like it, but sometimes the truth hurts. You can't behave this way and expect that everything's going to be just fine. You have a mugshot that looks like someone's been pummeled. And there's no explanation for how that got there.
There are many different techniques to use. They don't all involve force. The guy's hands were down the whole time. He did not make a threatening gesture.
I question why the other officers did not get involved and just kind of stood by. It opens up a lot of questions of what actually went on that evening.
Coming up tomorrow on Wink News, the 3 law enforcement experts discuss what they say was the biggest mistake made during the use of force arrest. They also weigh in on a video of Sheriff Carmine Marcino that I got exclusively from a source where he appears to be sharing his view on use of force. I'm investigative reporter Celine McArthur, and that is a story you will only see on Wink News.
This is Wink News at 6.
A former sergeant with the Lee County Sheriff's Office admits he broke the rules in the arrest of this man back in August, where enough force was used to fracture the man's face and ribs. Thanks for joining us. I'm Lois Tomey.
I'm Chris Safati, but that former deputy, Christopher Meyer, is convinced that Sheriff Marcino shouldn't have fired him, which begs the question, why? Wink News investigative reporter Celine McArthur finds out if there's a culture of permitted violence in the agency.
A source gave me this video of Sheriff Carmine Marcino. They say it was shot inside the Lee County Sheriff's Office headquarters and appears to show Marcino sharing his views on use of force. The source asked to remain anonymous in fear of retaliation.
Jumpsuits are red. Justice is sweet. Commit a crime in Lee County and your ass will get beat.
I asked 3 independent law enforcement experts to evaluate Marcino's video and weigh in. Dave Benson, 40 years of experience, retired as Director of Law Enforcement Training, U.S. State Department. Jim Durain, 20 years experience, retired Supervisory Special Agent, FBI. Jeff Myers, 32 years, retired Fort Myers Police Deputy Chief. All of them say Marcino's words and how he delivers them sends a dangerous message that street justice is not only allowed, but encouraged.
No matter what's down on paper, what you allow, what you present, what you say, that's what your subordinates are going to follow.
Jumpsuits are red, justice is sweet. Commit a crime in Lee County, and your ass will get beat.
If you have a boss that's coming out and talking about, beating people, obviously there's forethought involved, and you're trying to send a message.
Commit a crime in Lee County, and your ass will get beat.
When you make statements like that, and then we have potential alleged events like this, people connect the dots. The community connects the dots.
On August 11th, 45-year-old Corey Samick says he took a beating from then LCSO Sergeant Christopher Meyer outside this gas station in Tice while two deputies watched. Some of that arrest was captured on security camera. Samick filed a complaint against the deputies involved and the sheriff's office from behind bars, sparking an investigation by the state attorney's office and LCSO. Neither office will provide us their reports, citing an ongoing criminal investigation. However, Meyer gave me an exclusive copy of his internal affairs summary. It recounts his first conversation with Assistant State Attorney Janisha Beckford. She explains to him how the charges against Samick could be dropped due to the extent of his injuries. Meyer responds, saying, quote, he was okay with that decision as Mr. Samick was sentenced on scene.
I told the state attorney that when they called to follow up with me. I go, as far as I'm concerned, he's already been sentenced. I don't care.
Are you kidding me? Justice was administered at the scene? You said that? That to me is a terminable offense right off the bat.
LCSO Defensive Tactics Coordinator Captain Scott Griffith deemed the level of force used by Meyer in the video appeared to be in accordance with LCSO policy and procedures.
In my experience, I really haven't seen a policy that allows for punches to the face. If you're under attack, that's a different story.
LCSO's response to resistance policy states that deputies shall not strike or use physical force against any person except when necessary in self-defense, in defense of another, to overcome physical resistance to arrest.
The guy's hands were down the whole time. He did not make a threatening gesture.
Marcino announced on Facebook that Meyer and two other deputies were fired and focused on the finding use of force that was not properly reported and documented. He referred to the lack of reporting and documenting twice in the first 4 lines, begging the question, would Meyer have been allowed to keep his job had he filed the proper paperwork? Meyer believes the answer is yes.
It was just a matter of the paperwork. Paperwork didn't get done. That's on me.
Paperwork Meyer says Marcino didn't have on hand when he was told about Samick's complaint.
I think that's the main reason that they came down the way that they did, is because they got blindsided, they got made to look bad, the whole agency got turned upside down. And it was always projected at the sheriff's office that if you get into something and you get called into IA or you get called in by a supervisor, and if you tell them the truth and you tell them this is why, that they will take care of you.
Marcino posted a reaction to this story on Facebook last night, claiming it was one-sided. So, we reached out to the Lee County Sheriff's Office for an interview with the sheriff last week. They asked us for a deadline. We gave it to them, and then we heard nothing. In his Facebook post, he also stated, quote, in the Public Affairs Office, we run several, if not dozens, of scripts for videos. He went on to say, I immediately decided not to use this video as this did not represent my views on use of force. So I would like to ask the sheriff, why did you record the video in the first place? I also put in a public information request for the other videos he mentions in his post. I'm investigative reporter Celine McArthur, Wink News.